So my issue with Rome 2, above all else, pretty much, is that the battles are deeply unsatisfying and unstimulating in the most fundamental ways. And that is in contrast with Rome Total War, which had interesting, satisfying, tactical, immersive battles from day one, and I still think that they are. And I think I have some understanding of why that is, and I've already gone over it to an extent in my previous video about Shogun 2's unit diversity, so I'm going to be talking about Rome Total War now. Alright, so Total War started out with Shogun 1, which did the same thing as Shogun 2. It had one roster duplicated across all of the factions, and then slight tweaks were made to each faction to give them specialization and focus, and to make the factions have slight asymmetry, while only having one roster, really. And then Medieval Total War comes out in 2002, I think, and it is the first Total War game to have asymmetrical factions, because it's set in medieval Europe. So you have the Crusades, you have the Muslim factions, the Christian factions, you have Turks, Europeans. There's all of these different cultures and factions, and therefore units that are unique and exclusive to factions and to cultures. So that was the first time asymmetry was done, and it worked. And then they did it again in 2004 with Rome Total War. But with Rome Total War, they went to classical antiquity centered around Rome. And I just noticed how the title just stands out, stands off the screen in gold. I like it. So, 3rd century, 2nd century BCE, around Rome, and you have all of these different factions that are all developed. So you have the Roman factions at the top, and the SPQR, the Senate, and then you have the Gauls. So you have the Gauls, the Germans, to the north, you have Carthage to the south, you have the Spanish to the southwest, you've got all of this stuff to the east, you've got the 3 successor kingdoms of Alexander the Great, and it says Egyptians, but it would be the Ptolemaics, but I think this is somewhat ahistorical. You've also got the Seleucids. Yeah, that's the other one of the successors. And then the Macedonians here. And then underneath the Macedonians, you have the Greeks. So you've got pike factions in the Greeks and the Macedonians. You've got cavalry factions in the Parthians, Armenians, Scythians. And then you've got Balkan infantry factions in Thracians, Dacians. Got Pontus, of course, as well, which is similar to the Seleucids. You've got the Numidians in Africa, beside Carthage, as a minor faction, somewhat. So you've got a lot of factions here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, essentially. Something that I, of course, really wanted to do when Rome 2 launched was use all of this German infantry, and Barbarian Invasion continues to build on this. I wanted to use all of these interesting specialist melee units, and I think that's what the game actually calls it. Axemen and specialist infantry with limited selection of cavalry. So you've got Screeching Women, which have an area of effect Demoralize. You've got Berserkers, which are a meme unit. They go berserk like elephants, and they also cause fear. Naked Fanatics. So these guys have high attack, decent charge, and they can warcry, and they have no armor. So their entire defensive capability relies on the shield. So if they get shot in the back by archers, they will just melt. And then you've got a frontline infantry unit, Axemen. So they have decent attack, decent defense, and expert at hiding in woods or snow. Does this one have that? Yeah, woods or snow, screeching women, and then this one as well. And this is the unit that I really remember really well, Night Raiders. Look at that charge bonus, 6 charge bonus in woods or snow, and they have their own fear effect. So you can hide these guys, and then because they're fast moving, they can be hidden in trees. Can they hide anywhere? No. But I remember springing some devastating ambushes with these, and also in Barbarian Invasion. These can, even on very hard difficulty, this is what I'm saying, like in Rome Total War, everything works on every difficulty. All of these tactics remain viable. If you want to have Night Raiders hidden in trees and appear to charge down heavy, disciplined Roman legionary cohorts in the flank while they're pinned against axemen who are just buying time, that works even on the highest difficulties. And that's something that I used to do a lot. Spear warbands, I would just make, because this is the German Phalanx unit, so you have a lot of options. There's so many ways that you can combine these units, and I haven't started talking about these yet. This is the most formidable infantry unit that the Germans have. But it's interesting because they have less charge bonus than Night Raiders. Look at that, 6 charge bonus to their 5. Axemen have 5 as well. Naked Fanatics have 5. Berserkers have 7, but it's different because they have a small unit. But yeah, I would use Chosen Axemen to just hack away at the flanks of engaged Roman infantry with very high armour, 25 melee defence, and they would get shredded by these. It was so amazing, just the idea of these guys with heavy axes just cleaving through Roman infantry and rendering all of their training and discipline and tight-knit formation and high morale and giant shield completely useless. There was something just special about it, and likewise, getting them to rout because you spring from the trees with Night Raiders. These two units are completely different. Even though they're both very offensive units, you use them differently. And Axemen, these were really cheap. I wish I could see. I should probably just start a campaign. But everything that I've just described, none of it exists in Rome 2. It's just not there. Alright. My quick load. Take a while. But yeah, nothing that I'm describing was possible in Rome 2. It just wasn't there. Everything was really serious and dulled down. Like, it was dull. It wasn't vibrant and decisive. And this is why I like Shogun 2 so much, because it was also really decisive. And I don't just mean decisive in terms of how quickly the battles are over. That's not what I mean at all. I mean decisive as in the units have personalities and they have usages that are unique. They have their own unique mechanics. Chosen Axemen, 200 upkeep, 170 upkeep. But look, they have 3 armor, 2 shield, but these rely entirely on defense skill. So archers firing into these is acceptable. The shield will do something about it, but chosen axemen, they only have defense skill. So if they get shot by archers, and I still remember seeing 20 of these dying to a volley of Roman archers and being like, oh my god, they could have done so much, those 20 guys, if they just got up to the side of that unit of, what is it, comitatenses from Barbarian Invasion. I think I'm remembering that right. I think it was on Barbarian Invasion. And then cavalry, Barbarian Noble Cavalry. So these are fast moving, so they move faster and they're really cheap. These are expensive, but they have higher charge, not same charge. They just have better melee stats, basically. So these are heavier. So if you charge them into the back of a unit, they won't start to just die on impact like these would sometimes. 7 charge bonus is high though. That's good cavalry. And then the archers, chosen archer warband. Yeah, these just arrived quite late, I remember. But you could use tempos to make them better. Nah, that's the Gauls, alright. Berserkers. Yeah, look at that, you unlock these units via tempos. So you have to pick. I remember I would always go for these. Good morale, good stamina. Some units just have absolutely no armor. Do you see how extreme this is? The armor, it's not just a matter of reducing the armor. There is none. They're fully exposed. There isn't an armor check against what's happening. It's so decisive. And when you're fighting, you get feedback for that. You see it happen. If they get shot in the back, they will melt, and you'll know that it's because they have no armor. And at the same time, if they make it up to the melee without taking any archer fire, you know that all of their strengths are now being checked in the melee. Look at that giant shield, and the high melee attack, and the charge bonus, and they've probably got a war cry as well. And then the cavalry, let's check the Gothic cavalry. 12, 7, 19. Excellent morale. But all of their units are distinct. They only have one unit of skirmishers. Notice how there's no bloat. You don't have 5 different skirmisher units. And you only have one unit that's capable of phalanx as well. Gauls next. And look at how short the roster is. But once again, they all serve a purpose. You've got barbarian peasants. They're worse than the German ones, I think. No, they're the same. High melee defense. So you've got warband. So that's a low quality. 241 men. So they're just there to hold the line. Fodder. Druids. Buff morale. Well armoured. Naked fanatics, so they have that over from the Germans. Swordsmen. So this is an impetuous unit that has decent stats in a melee. They can stand toe to toe. Not as well as chosen swordsmen here, but the tiering is really clear. Look at this. 10-12 versus 13-17. Same charge bonus though. But that just conveys that they are superior melee combatants. And then skirmishers, and then the unique unit of the Gauls, Forester Warband. And then they have some cavalry. Alright, and now we look at the Romans. So this is an example of extreme variety of a specific type of unit, but they do have some of the support, the auxilia, and you won't have access to all of this at the same time. There's pre-Marian and post-Marian. So for example, you've got auxilia for after the reforms, and then triarii before the reforms. And you've got hastati, principes, but they're not really disambiguated well. They're not distinct enough. That always bothered me. That's one of the few times in Rome Total War where I wasn't happy with how well differentiated the units were. They only have slightly better... I think I remember that hastati had stamina, more stamina, but Principes had more melee defense. But I don't see that at the moment. Good stamina starts to appear here. Triarii don't have good stamina. Legionary cohorts, Praetorian cohorts, they don't have good stamina. Urban cohorts have good stamina. Good stamina on these. On these. So it's interesting when units don't have good stamina. I remember the Urbans had it, but the Praetorians didn't. And then you've got decent cavalry, surprisingly, for Romans. But the Marian Reformed cavalry is really way better. And also, equites have fast moving, which is one of the most important things for cavalry units. Fast moving makes them so much better. And then the pre-Marian archers don't have long range, but the post-Marian ones do. And of course, the thing that the Romans have in addition to their infantry is their siege. They have everything, every siege unit. So these faction rosters are all quite different. You'd have to go to something like Scythians and Parthians to find serious overlap, I think. But yeah, these factions... This is an example of successful asymmetry in a Total War game. This is the only time that I can really think where it's been pulled off, and actually no, Parthians and the Scythians don't really have much overlap. Because look, the Parthians are cataphract heavy, even with cataphract camels. But the Scythians... Scythian noble archers, long-range missiles. And they do have some infantry. Greeks. So the Greeks are very heavy on Phalanx. This was probably my favourite faction to play as because it was the theme, of course, with Athens and all of the wonders and the trade. Just the position around the Aegean, you could so easily dominate the economy and just optimise it, so I would do that a lot. But also, of course, I liked getting armoured hoplites and Spartan hoplites and pulling off ridiculous victories. And these units are all different. I really distinctly remember how important it was to have at least 1 or 2 units of actual hoplites in addition to all of the militia hoplites. Because when things get messy, these guys can break rank and then get chewed up and rout because of their poor morale. But if you have just 1 unit of hoplites anchoring the battle line, it can help so much. And then of course you're up to armoured hoplites, and then things get really serious because these are really... oh man. If they stand under archer fire... oh man, like... And that's one way that they are better than Spartan hoplites, because they are better at tanking arrows. It's interesting how they are all unique. 1, 2, 3, 4 unique units. Unique hoplite units. They're differentiated successfully thankfully. And then peltasts and heavy peltasts. I remember these ones seem to be better. I don't know why. Maybe they were just way cheaper and I would spam them. But I liked using these to shoot into the flanks of engaged pikes, like the Macedonian pikes that have tiny shields. Like using peltasts against them was good. And the cavalry's crap, of course. And then there's the mercenaries. But yeah, these, and then Macedon, you've got a focus on actual pikes, not just phalanx, you know, like the movie 300 where they have 2 meter long spears. These guys have 4 or 5 meter long, very long spears, it says. So all of their units have very long spears. You have to go down to militia hoplites to have one that doesn't. They only have one unit with regular phalanx, and it's terrible at it. And I think it might have the highest shield value as well. And Royal Pikemen have good stamina. Vulnerable to missiles, it actually says it. It says it for these, for Levy Pikemen, vulnerable to missiles. So that's what makes Macedon unique. They inherit Alexander's legacy of very long pikes, very long. And they're totally different from the Greek pikes, because if you get high quality pikes with experience on them, then they will kill Greek hoplites, which are the most formidable, before they can even get within range. They'll get stuck, outranged, and poked to death. So there's a big difference between just Macedonians and Greeks. There's a big mechanical difference. And whenever you play as the Greeks against the Macedonians, you're aware of that difference. You can't afford to just go into their pikes. It's like they beat you at your own game. You have to go around it. And that's where units like Spartan Hoplites can really show their value, because they have swords that have decent stats. Not only do they have 16 attack, but their secondary weapon has a decent attack value, their sword. So you can just disable Phalanx and charge charge bonus of 4. That is a decent charge bonus for a unit that's supposed to be in Phalanx. Let's compare it. So compare charge bonus of 4 charge, 3 charge. Yeah, similar. Alright. Carthaginians. So you've got Poeni Infantry, Sacred Band. I remember these were the Phalanx units. These were really important. You would have to make a lot of these and use them well. And then you've got good cavalry, long shield cavalry, Sacred Band cavalry, round shield and long shield. Important units, fast moving and decent charge. And then of course the elephants. And you would probably collect Balearic slingers as well, like Hannibal did. And then the Britons with their chariots, 1, 2, 3 different chariot units, head hurlers, woad warriors. What was the thing about these again? Attack is quite high, very high. Swordsmen have an attack of 10, these have 13. So these are really fanatical. They don't have that impressive a charge bonus because Knight Raiders of the Germans have 6, they have 5. That's high. So that melee defense is really low. I didn't realise it was that low, I forgot about that. Swordsmen have 12. So Woad Warriors and Swordsmen are 2 completely different units. Swordsmen are more reliable in a straight melee, where their melee defense is getting checked, but Woad Warriors have way higher attack, way higher charge. They don't rely as much on defense for their effectiveness, so you would flank with these, and presuming they don't get cut down by cavalry. They're fast moving too. Oh yeah, fast moving. Fast moving, high attack, decent charge, yeah. So you would flank with these, while the enemy's engaged with warband and swordsman and chosen swordsman, and they will get really good kill tallies for their cost. And head hurlers are effective against armor, remember that. So they're short range, effective against armor. So if they come to continental Europe and come up against cohorts and early legionary cohorts, urban cohorts, they will be like the German axemen and just shred. So they have a lot of unique things about them. They have the head hurlers, the chariots, the woad warriors, and they share the druids with the Gauls. And they have some of their own mercenaries actually, never mind. And dogs. Dogs? Romans have dogs, do Germans? I think the Germans have dogs. Yeah, they do. So I remember I would try and play as the Germans and just combine all of these fear effects and rout the disciplined Romans, even on high difficulties, which would be the only difficulties I would play on. It would be really satisfying to just have these axemen chewing away at urban cohorts really quickly, while all of these morale malices from Night Raiders run around, and berserkers going berserk, screeching women, war dogs barking, all of this shit happening all at once, focusing it on pieces of the army, and just grinding down Roman stacks. Really satisfying, there's really nothing like it. And it's even more exaggerated, more extreme in Barbarian Invasion, where there's already big stacks of Roman heavy infantry roaming around, because they're established. What else? Numidians were half-assed. Camel riders. Numidian cavalry. Numidian legionnaires. They don't have testudo. So they have the tight formation of true Roman legionnaires, but they don't have the testudo. But these ones do have testudo. Silver Shield Legionnaires. Legionaries. And yeah, this is surely the most diverse faction. You've got Spear Phalanx, Pike Phalanx, Legionnaire copies, Peltas Archers, Cavalry that's fast moving, Cataphracts, Scythed Chariots that frighten nearby units, Elephants, Skirmisher Cavalry, and Onagers. So you have some of everything, and you can combine pretty much all of the mechanics that exist in the game as the Seleucids. Combine them in the most superficial, harsh ways, at the very least. So you have legionaries and testudo, while cataphracts charge enemy infantry. So they distract archers while cataphracts slam into the enemy infantry. Stuff like that. You can combine cataphracts and testudos as the Seleucids. And then when you play as the Germans, you have, as it describes, specialist. So as you hone in and focus with a faction, you get more control over its specific mechanics, and the most obvious example of that is all of these different hoplites that you can try and use in efficient ways to support each other. And a good example of that is armoured hoplites taking arrows, Spartan hoplites taking flanks, being decisive, getting kills, eating through the sides of pike units quickly with their ruthless high attack, and also their ability to persist with their 2 hit points, which is unique. It's quite a unique thing, having 2 hit points. Spanish. Bull Warriors, remember these. 2 hit points on these as well. Scutarii. I remember they would do the Roman thing, and I think that's where the Romans are meant to have copied it. So they toss a plumbata, a heavy lead-weighted dart, I think. So they have the plumbata, I think, and the Romans have the actual pilum, pila tossing. And look at this, 3 attack, 3 defense. It's interesting how even the peasants tweak between the factions. Look at that, 3 attack, 3 defense. I don't remember them having 3 attack. But then if you look at the German ones, it's 1 and 4. Yep, 1 attack, 4 defense. And then Greeks is 1 and 1. Like the Romans, 1 and 1. 3 and 3, holy shit. 1 and 1. British ones then, let's check British ones. 1 and 4. That's fascinating. 1 and 4. One and 4. So yeah, look at that. The Spanish even have their own unique peasants. 3 and 3. It's fascinating. Why is that? Why the hell do they have such good attack? Egyptians, which I haven't looked at. 3 and 3 again. What the fuck? It's interesting, though. The Egyptians are kind of like the Seleucids. They have good variety. Pharaoh's guards, remember them. Really solid phalanx. But no shield, look at that. They just have very high armour. Pharaoh's bowmen, yeah, long-range missiles. So they're similar to the Forester warband, and they have camel archers, chariots, Nile cavalry, Nubian cavalry, fast moving with 6 charge, chariot archers, and heavy onagers, interestingly. So, desert axemen, 10 and 10. And bowmen are fast moving, but Pharaoh's bowmen are not. They have high armour. So Egyptian units have high armour in place of good shields. Even desert axemen, I think they have crappy shields. And they don't have any good charge. None of their units have decent charge. So it's all armour. I didn't play as Egypt very much at all, I don't remember. And Armenians. Armenian legionnaires, another rip-off of Roman legionnaires, Eastern infantry. Pontus has that too. Yeah, 3-3 peasants for the Armenians. Hillmen. And cataphracts. Cataphract archers. Armenian cataphract archers. Yeah, how could I forget that? But yeah, it's funny how the Seleucids are the only ones that have proper legionaries. Good stamina on them as well. Can form phalanx. But yeah, you can see clearly that unlike Shogun 1 and Shogun 2 and 3 Kingdoms, this is an example of a game that has serious asymmetry between the factions. If you have a playstyle you want, there is a faction for it, and the faction itself has units that are often distinguished quite well. And that's not something that you have in Rome 2. In Rome 2, as I said at the start, the units all seem to blur. That's how I remember it. I don't remember actually noticing different performances between the units. So I would play as the Romans, and all of my testudo capable Roman infantry would just feel the same as each other. But in this game, The difference between Hastati and Triarii is immense. The difference between urban cohort and early legionary cohort is immense. The difference between legionary cavalry and Roman cavalry is immense. And part of that is that they have different traits, like speed is different. So Roman cavalry fast moving, legionary cavalry well armoured, battlefield ninjas. And I always thought it was strange how they didn't have good charge. Yeah, I miss the Knight Raiders. My god, so many good battles with Knight Raiders. And not being able to do this in Rome 2, not being able to do anything like this in Rome 2, spring these ambushes with these guys with black and white paint to just break up their appearance. 6 charge, fast moving, good stamina. Bonus in woods, my god, fighting in woods. It was immense to combine all of these different melee units. Let's count how many melee units there are that are unique. 1, 2, 3. And of course, these are different, because this one is for charging without any aggression from bows. This one is from standing on the front line and doing well in a long fight. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because they're Phalanx, 6 because they are effective against armour. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units of melee that are all different. I can't say that about any faction in Rome 2. I don't remember being able to say that, because I would use these in different ways. The situation would call upon all of these units in different ways. If I had an army like this, then yeah, I would have to think a lot during the fight for how I'm going to deploy them all. It would be a challenge against a stack of Roman infantry, how I'm going to position all of these and engage them and commit them. And this is an example of good asymmetry. All of these rosters have been made different and mechanically different, not just aesthetically different. And there isn't any roster bloat. There isn't bloating of rosters. Rome is the closest that you get to roster bloat. But if you separate it into pre-Marian and post-Marian, it looks a bit better. Yeah. Alright, well that's it. That's Rome Total War. Next up, possibly 3K.